Welcome to another episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. I'm Lori Burch, your host. Join us as we discuss and unpack wills, trusts, estate planning, and probate law in a way that's actually informative, interesting, and, well, hopefully entertaining. Because if you don't have a will, the state of Texas has one for you. Let's dive in. All right. So on today's thrilling episode of One of Us Knows What They're Talking About, and the other one is you. Since we've added the intro, outro, I don't feel like I get to say it as much. And that's sad.
Yeah.
That makes me sad. Tears.
You can still say it.
Yes. So something that comes up, and I feel like we've talked about this or alluded to it before, but what we're going to talk about specifically today is something that it's been going on for a while, but in the DFW area, we have lots of corporations here. And so it seems to be bigger companies, banks that offer these type of HR benefits. And hey, I'm all for HR benefits. Good job. Good job. But one of the things that they provide are these workplace legal plans. And they're provided by certain companies. They've had different names, but basically where you can get reduced or included legal services. And I am not here to talk about any of the quality of these legal services when it comes to anything outside of wills, trusts, and estate planning. That's what I've seen, lived, and breathed with this. So if it's a great place to get, divorce or have a child custody modification, or if it's a great way to be defended from your DUI charge, I don't know. Although I don't know why you'd want a company that's what's used by your employer to know these things, but hey, whatever. So, I mean, maybe that's okay. I truly can't answer that, but I can answer how it looks in our world. And I personally, on the employer and HR side of things, think it sounds like a great idea. Awesome, because more people need to have this planning. I mean, if there's anything we consistently harp upon, it is that. However, it's one of those things that's just like any sort of quick fix, reduce fee, magic diet pill. The proof is in the pudding, and it still yields really bad results, unfortunately. Very similar to all the stuff that we talk about with DIY stuff, but we'll talk about it specifically with these plans. And it works a little differently. I will tell you that a couple of times along the way of the 20 years that Burch Law has been around, I've looked into participating as a provider on that. And every time I'm scared off by it, because one of the things is they require you to significantly reduce your fees and compensation. And if you're truly trying to provide a quality service, a customized service, something that people truly need and will, hang on everybody, work when you need it, there's no shortcuts there. There's no magic one. There's no better than nothing kind of concept. I mean, one thing that we see a lot is it either is nothing or sometimes even worse than nothing. It can be worse than nothing for a lot of reasons, but one of the reasons it's worse than nothing is because at least people who don't have an estate plan know they don't. But people who are like, oh yeah, I did this form and I filled it out and all of that. So, I mean, it might be a tier above better than some of the DIY and online services, but in many cases, it has the same net result. So, and the other thing I will say though is at least the biggest company that provides this, I won't mention names, but they do provide reimbursement up to a certain amount if you go with an out of network firm. And so that's something we've worked with a lot of clients on, where we can fill out, submit the invoices, and help you at least get kind of the best of both worlds, where you're getting a reduction or reimbursement, but you're also getting a thorough customized plan for you at the same time for less. But for any firm, any quality firm that truly cares about putting a lot of time, effort, customization, and value into this, there is no way you can operate with these reduced fees. And let me tell you, I've talked to some firms that provide these services, and I know some of the shortcuts they are taking in order to be able to participate. And it is not beneficial. It's very, very basic. Are there certain instances where this could be better than nothing? I suppose, but at least have that conversation, because it's few and far between. So let's talk specifically about where we see this. So I've heard different stories. I mean, the upside is, I believe for the most part, these are done by real law firms. So that's a plus that are licensed in the state of Texas. That's far and above the online sites that not only are not based in Texas, but are not, there are no licensed attorneys associated with knowing what they're doing. So there is that. But I've heard varying degrees of where there's really not any in-depth meetings with an attorney, where maybe you fill out some questionnaire and you submit it and it gets drafted, and then the documents get sent to you with instructions on how to get it signed, which we talk a lot about how things don't get signed properly. If they do help you get it signed, good. If they do review things, good. But at the very least, it's all very basic and cookie cutter. So if you have any sort of nuanced situation, if you have stepchildren, if you're in the LGBTQ community, if you own property in multiple states, um, if you're a business owner, I mean, these are all things that have some nuance to it, particularly if you're interested in doing a revocable living trust plan with the idea of avoiding probate. And the only way that that's going to work is by connecting your assets to the trust through deed work, through getting bank accounts changed, beneficiaries changed. There's really none of that support that happens. So basically, you're walking out of there and you got nothing. So yeah, it's just not, it's kind of the same thing. So what I was going to go through is one of the most recent workplace legal plans that we've reviewed. I was going to go through just as a um an example. You call this like a case study, where
Well,
it, yeah, so where it goes through, like, this was just our review of one of these plans. Um so the client that we had worked with said, we thought we had everything set up with work, with the estate planning benefit, um, but here's what we found. So first of all, not all the actual planning documents were included. Specific ones that weren't included was one, a HIPAA medical record release. I did all the talking now. Who wants to share what is important about that document?
this document allows whoever you name, your agents, to be able to get access to medical records that are protected by HIPAA laws. And typically, this should be match up with whoever your medical power of attorney is, because they're the ones who get to make the decisions. So, can you imagine your medical power of attorney trying to make a decision about your health care, like what's going to happen if you're unconscious or you can't make decisions, but they can't be informed thoroughly about what's going on with you? That sounds real fun. I'm just saying,
Good
like,
time.
that sounds real like a real hot time.
Yeah. No, seriously. So this is something we've had to address, the Privacy Act for medical records. I mean, this has been going on 20 plus years. It's not brand spanking new. And we found in this particular case study, but with some regularity, that there is no accompanying medical record release with the medical power of attorney. Now, we have them as two standalone documents. However, it is okay to have that HIPAA release language in the actual medical power of attorney document. So what we're talking about is it's just not addressed at all, which basically with the privacy of medical records means you're the person you name to make medical decisions and your medical power of attorney can't do anything because they can't be told anything.
I
Well,
mean,
do
I
you want
guess
to pull
they
the plug?
could.
Well, what's the condition? Oh, we can't tell you that. So do you want to pull it? Depending on it is, maybe. Yeah, go ahead.
I mean, we're aware of the amount of uninformed decisions people make, so, you know.
Yes. Another planning document that we do standard that we have seen missed, and in this particular one was missed, is a declaration of guardian or a designation of a guardian in event of future incapacity. And it's kind of weird to think about this, but it is important because if something more severe happens to you and permanent, so whether it's Alzheimer's, dementia, brain aneurysm, if you are in a condition where you cannot make decisions for yourself, so and great, maybe you have a medical power of attorney, maybe you have a financial power of attorney, but that doesn't preclude you from making decisions. It just says who else can make decisions. So what if you're a danger to yourself? What if you're making bad decisions? That is one example where if you lack capacity, there might need to be a court appointed guardian, and that can be initiated by a family member. And so what if you have painstakingly named the people that you want to make these decisions for you, but you don't have this document? So let's say, your brother is a ne'er-do-well, and so you wanted to make sure that you've got your sister, and that if not your sister, uh, is your backup, then that means that brother could come in if you don't have this document and say, sorry, sis, I'm going to take the power from you guys. Without the declaration of guardian, where you've named, okay, if I'm ever in this situation, this is who can be appointed by the court as my guardian, then it leaves the door open for somebody else, perhaps someone you would not want. Even if it doesn't, even if it's all the right people, a declaration of guardian can speed up that process, and it waives bond so that whoever gets named your guardian doesn't have to post a bond with the court. I mean, there's just a lot of benefits. So it is an important document. And then finally, in a commonly missed planning document, but in this case, we saw it as well, which is really sad purely on the fact that it's just the greatest title in all of the state planning, but also because it does something very important. But they did not have the appointment of agent to control disposition of remains.
I have a fun
And
story on this one.
oh, goodness, good. Hold that for a second. So, if it's not
Okay.
painfully obvious from the title, this is a document designating who can oversee any type of funeral, burial, or cremation, and it can specify if you have any specific wishes there. I know that some people may say, well, I put that in my will. And I've seen that time and time again. And I don't know if before I started practicing things went down differently or what. All I can say is a will does have to go through a probate court process, and you're at least 30 days from getting a hearing, getting an executor appointed from the date of death. And every single cremation or burial I know of happens within 30 days of death. That's a long time to be sitting on ice, is all I'm saying. So, and you may not want the same person as executor to be handling those things. But anyway, Cynthia, you have a story about this?
Yeah. Yeah, so this actually happened maybe, when was I still doing signings? 4 years ago? It's been a bit. So we had a client who they came in to do their own estate planning. They had recently lost their brother, and their brother had named our client as the executor. They're the ones who were handling all the aspects of, going through probate, settling the estate, things like that. However, one of the things that the brother did not have was this document or anything similar to it. So in Texas, in order to be able to be cremated, there's a list of certain people who can sign off on that, who can approve for a body to be cremated, and they have to be a certain level of, like, relative to the individual. Part of this is like to ensure like if there's no foul play suspected, things like that. So the our client's brother didn't have anything like this in place, and the person who the funeral home wanted to hear from and get some documents signed by was the brother's daughter, so our client's niece. Well, our client's niece lives in London, so the funeral home here in Texas, in Dallas, wanted her to come or her to sign some documents saying that she was signing off on the cremation, and they weren't going to do it until they had her signature. So they had to do a couple of things because I believe that the funeral home wanted the original signature. They didn't want it to be like scanned in or anything, so they had to mail something, or I guess I could have emailed it, but she had to print it out, sign it, and it had to be mailed back to us or back to Dallas, all the way from London. So our
Wow.
client's like saying how big of a hassle this was because his daughter's like, okay, well, what do I need to do? Do I really need to come all the way back, or his niece, for, just to do this? So ultimately, the brother thought, hey, everything's gonna be fine. Our brother's gonna be able to handle this. So we will take care of it. It will be easy. However, because this document was missing, there was a little bit of a wrench there.
Wow. Yeah, it's come up so more than I would have thought when I first started
Yeah.
this practice. And I actually like I'm not trying to toot my own horn, but toot toot. Uh, but there, I had one client whose spouse had passed away, and she told me that when she went to the funeral home and presented that document, that the funeral director was like, "This is incredible. Like, who's your attorney? This is exactly what we need. This is, I'm not making this up. I'm really, really not."
Girl, that's exactly what they
Now,
said.
this is why you know I'm not making it up, because my response was, "Yeah, that's right. I'm amazing." But no, it's really true. And actually, two instances within the first 5 years of my practice, because for those who may not know, we help everybody, but we do have a special focus on the LGBTQ community. And within the first 5 years of my practice, I had two instances with clients. One where, and this is premarital equality, so not husband or spouse, but partner passed away, and the parents were like, "We're taking our boy home and having him buried in our plot in Oklahoma." And the partner was able to say that's not what his wishes were. And I have this document, and it was resolved. The second one is a different scenario that I see happen a little bit more often, thankfully ish, I guess. I call it institutional uncertainty. And it's where a funeral director was saying to our client, whose partner had passed away, look, I respect your relationship. I want to listen to you. Uh, there's no family here. There's no next of kin that's fighting you or disagreeing with you, but I don't know if legally I can listen to you. And because I don't know why he didn't present this at the beginning, but that's fine. Not all our clients really listen to what we do for them. It's fine. But at that point, he said, "Well, I have this document that we got prepared." And the funeral director said, "Great, wonderful. This gives me the legal ability to be able to honor your wishes. Well, your partner's wishes, but your wishes in regards to making those decisions." All right. But that's not all that was missing, everybody, from this work policy plan. We also, so the living will, that is a generic term, and it's misused so much. What a living will is, it's that document that we all are actually familiar with the concept of. And that is, do you or do you not want your life artificially prolonged? Right. So many different states call this different things. In Texas, this is called a directed to physicians. And it lays out, if I'm in an irreversible condition, doctors determine that I am not going to recover from that within 6 months. I'm loosey goosey with this language. Then I want everything life sustaining mechanisms to be removed other than those to keep me comfortable. Essentially, it's that. Or if you really like to have a good time, you're saying, "No, keep me alive. That sounds awesome. Let's drain all the money that I have and my family has and make them suffer." So that's also a choice, and it's your choice to make, and we respect it. So
Yes.
things get updated. Like there are statutory requirements. What's a statutory requirement? I'm not going to ask you, Sarah. Anyway,
No.
um, of what has to be in documents. This isn't just some free for all where we just put anything in there. No, there's requirements in order for it to be valid and upheld. And the law changed on substantively on how this particular document is supposed to look. I mean, like 20 years ago, like in the early 2000s.
Whoa.
I'm gonna cry. I'm gonna cry.
That was really good, Sam. We both whoaed at the same
Yeah,
time. You can see our
2000.
little spike.
No, you know what I was thinking last night when I was doing the seminar and I was meaning to refer to the early 2000s and someone said the early aughts, which is correct. It really threw me.
Or the
It really
ooze.
threw me.
Ooze.
So I was kind of like going back through that. Anyway, it changed significantly. What's sad is that you would think that attorneys that do estate planning would get wind of this. Right? If they don't, then who's going to do it? So this was just within so this case study, this is a real thing. Okay. I'm not just like piecing together an amalgam of the problems that we've seen. This is just from one plan we reviewed. It was within the last year. They had language that predated the early aughts, that predated the old statutory language. That's just frightening. The other thing is the trust didn't clearly define the kids. So I, you really do you have to define who you're married to establish a marital relationship, or who you're not married to, and or if you're not married, because who you're not married to is a long list, although it's a lot shorter for some people who've been married a lot. Anyway, boom.
Oh, whoa. We need to get Duncan on here because he's really good at following you up.
He is my rim shot. Like I can always count. There's two things I can count on with my jokes, is that Sarah will laugh and Duncan will give me a rim shot. That's it.
You can always count
That's
that
all.
I will just not laugh. I might groan.
Yeah. Nice.
But it's very important to define children as well, so that it closes the door for many other children claiming that they have any sort of rights, or a more recent trend from the courts stepping in and saying, well, we need to have an attorney ad litem appointed from the court to research all the heirs and descendants to make sure that these are the only ones. We could probably do a whole episode on just what I described. So make a note of that, Sarah, because it's actually actually that would be pretty fascinating.
Yeah, it would be, especially if we
Got
can
some
get
fun stories.
well that, but also, do we know anybody who regularly serves as an ad litem? Because they would be a great guest and who's good at it.
Oh,
Caveat.
yeah, no, I do. I think that's a good idea.
Make a note.
Because that, normally I don't know how much, because you all sit in on so many webinars and seminars of mine. I don't know if you pay close attention to when I do them. But last night, something I don't always bring up, because sometimes it's a question somebody asks me that makes me think to bring it up, about Ancestry and 23andMe, and about how that's really opened a door for people finding relatives that they either want to exclude or include. That's the nice part of it, right? So it is really important to do that. The other thing was, they had, I don't want to get too nuanced in this, but they had a trust, a living trust, which is designed to avoid probate. And so when you pass away, the next in line to help sort out your money and assets is called a trustee. But you always have an accompanying will with it in case there's anything you don't get transferred to the trust. And in the will, it's called an executor. And so let's say you have all your assets in your trust, but you forgot that one bank account. So you have to go to court to get control of the bank account to transfer it to the trust. So it makes sense, hopefully, with that very broad overview description, that your trustee would be the same person as your executor. And in this case, it was two different people, which is really confusing as to there are reasons, everybody. So don't take this as blanket advice, but in this context, it made no sense, and could cause unnecessary confusion um, and conflicts. The other thing, I'm not done. Can you believe this? There's more. But wait, there's more. Is this not bad enough? Oh, there's
Hey,
more. Um, there was nothing in the documents to protect the homestead exemption for the home. That's bad. That's bad, by the way. And going back to the whole executor trustee, the will actually contradicted the trust
Oh,
on what they wanted to do.
right.
There could really do a deep dive into how it did that, but let's just say for our purposes it did, because I'm actually getting really excited about what Sam and Sarah have for us. And then I was mentioning this at the top before we got into this particular issue, where if you do a trust and you have to connect assets to it, these cookie cutter generic firms that provide this. I'm not saying the firm themselves do everything like that. I'm just saying for the firms that service these plans, I'm just going to say it, they are half-assing it because that's the only way they can afford to do it.
We like to full ass
Um,
things.
but we full-ass things here.
Yeah.
There wasn't a deed. They didn't create the deed to transfer the property into the trust, which means the home would be subject to probate. That's the bottom line.
Woo!
So, and all of the things that I just went through, all of them are things that there's no reason that the client should have known. And that's really the essential issue here, is that you don't know what you don't know. And so if the idea is saving money, saving time, when this is just beating a drum constantly, but spending the time and effort in now and money now is really what's going to save that when it matters. Bottom line. So I know it sounds super great. I love the concept of it. I will say, in case people feel like I'm disparaging these companies that provide these benefits, one of the things that I see some bigger companies providing benefits for, which I think is incredible, is a lot of infertility or adoptions and IV treatments and all of that. And I think that's incredible. I can speak from experience that that costs a lot of money. Notice I didn't say it was expensive, because not having my beautiful children would be a far bigger expense to my life than the money it cost. But it was a lot of money, but it wasn't expensive. And I think I can speak for Sam, Sarah, and Cynthia that your lives are fuller with Adley and Poppy in them,
Very
and
true.
Kaya and
Yes.
Carly. Maybe not Carly, but only because you don't spend that much time with her.
Well, whenever I
She's
did,
she's probably the best one of all four of them, frankly.
she's got like this little quirky humor that's every now and then you're
Oh,
like,
she's
huh.
hilarious.
Yeah.
No, that was like the biggest thing. She was 10 when I first started dating Kimberly, and we like immediately we actually had this battle of who was more famous or something. And so like we kept like trying to one up each other, to the point where she wrote her name on some blocks, and she's like, people even have blocks with my name on it. So, anyway, it's funny. No, she's great. All four of them are great in their own ways, their own very unique individual ways. Point is, I think that's an awesome benefit that some companies provide. And so I don't want anybody to think that I'm poo-pooing that. But when it comes to this type of legal planning, it just doesn't cut it. It really doesn't. So this is not a workplace benefit that I would endorse. And I'm sorry. So was there anything they may had to add to that? I
no,
think we I think we
yeah.
circled the wagons on that. All right. So I'm excited.
I don't know
Sam
if
and
you know what that
Sarah.
means, Lori.
Now you said you don't know what circling the wagons means?
I don't think
Sarah?
I've ever heard that.
It's not racist,
That's
is
a
it?
that's a new term.
Okay, hold up.
Anytime like a old timey expression comes out of my mouth, I'm like, wait a minute, what are the origins of that? I really don't think it is, but oh no. Oh no, Cynthia's looking it up.
It depends on how. It depends on. So, circling the wagons. This is an idiom that means to take defensive position or prepare to defend against something. Now it's like against criticism or an attack or something. So this originated back from the pioneer days, whenever there was, pioneers that had like their long caravans with wagons. We've all played the game Oregon Trail.
I was about to say
Oregon Trail. And it's like whenever there's like bandits or somebody that was going to attack them, they would form circle, like to try to protect each other, and then to ward off the attackers, whoever they may be.
Let's leave it at that.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter who the attackers were.
Nope.
Attackers could have been anybody. Okay.
Could have been anybody.
Could have been anybody.
It does specify bandits.
Bandits. All right.
An old
So,
prospector.
all right. So, from Toy Story.
Yeah.
I love the prospector. Even though he's kind of a villain. Okay. Sam and Sarah, what do you got?
I'm dumb.
What do you got that relates to this topic?
So we have a list of good and bad workplace benefits. We're going to list out a benefit. You guys have to decide if it's a good benefit or a bad one.
Okay.
And I start first.
Oh, boy.
Benefit, allowed to bring our pets.
I feel like yes.
So that's a good or a bad benefit?
Yeah. What do you guys think?
I think it's good, depending on the pet.
It depends.
It depends.
Yeah. Okay, how about Hawaiian shirt Thursday?
I'm in.
How is that a benefit? Do we provide the Hawaiian shirts?
No, you have to buy your own.
You have to buy your own. It's a benefit to those who want to wear a Hawaiian shirt.
I mean,
I like it. Is that something you guys would want?
Great.
Sure.
This is the new thing. And everyone's like, what?
And it's only us that wear them.
It's only Sam and Sarah that show up in them.
I was going to say, poor Duncan's going to have to stop by Buc-ee's to see if there's a Hawaiian Buc-ee's shirt.
Probably
like he did for the Christmas sweaters. Why? So, Sam, since you're part of the events committee, why don't you add this to like once a month there needs to be a theme day. So obviously December we do a
Spirit
holiday
Day.
sweater. And in October we do costumes.
Halloween.
But why is it there a day every month where it has some sort of theme?
That would be fun.
Okay, we'll get on it.
Okay, work on that and then send me a proposal.
Okay. Number 3, pay to wear jeans.
So like y'all pay to be able to wear jeans?
Yes.
Yes.
These are all real benefits that we found, by the way, from people's
Oh,
work.
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For the most part, I think.
So y'all pay us to be able to wear jeans. I'm down with that.
You know what I find interesting?
Sarah, don't show your lower.
Is I don't think jeans are very comfortable.
No, that's my thing. I don't think they're comfortable.
Like
If
it
they're
should be pay to
the
wear
stretchy
joggers.
ones, they're kind of fun.
But like the waistband is also always the part where like if you're sitting all day and you're wearing like jeans, I always find that to be a horrible time. Like for me, that's fair. I'm just saying. I know some people find them really comfy.
I grew up in my teenage years in skinny jeans exclusively, so
I mean, same,
Same.
but I've evolved. Sarah,
Can't
you're still
relate.
constantly in skinny jeans.
All right.
live your truth.
How about how about
Oh,
free water, but only during the hot months?
Okay. So obviously we provide water every month.
you get
Although hot months in Texas, there's not many
Hold on.
that don't coincide. What would that Venn diagram be for us, Sarah? But you said something a few moments ago that these are all real ones. So you're telling me that there is a place of employment where they provide free water, but only during hot months. Is it like a place where it's like manual
Outdoorsy?
labor outside?
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like. We didn't get details.
Okay.
They didn't dig that deep. Because I'm like, y'all have a water.
Like, is it Amazon
system.
drivers? And so one of their benefits is they give them like a cooler on hot months to put in their car. Because then I'm starting to see like
park. Water park, maybe? I don't know.
Because if it were a professional office building like ours, that seems a little much. Okay, what's next?
Y'all, wait, hold on. I want to emphasize, y'all have hot water, y'all have cold water, and y'all have room temperature filtered water. So,
And then we have bottled
Pretty
water. I
nice.
mean,
no,
those
those are only for
Those are
clients.
clients, but like we have them. But yeah. Okay, number 5.
To look at.
Windows. Specifically the ones you can look out of.
I feel that's a great benefit we provide here, that everybody has a window.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a nice view.
Everybody has a window in their
Yeah.
office.
A wonderful view
You do. You can see
To the
downtown Dallas.
outside.
to the outside.
Yeah. An office
All
to
right.
another office.
All right.
I'm
What
curious
about
about the next one.
flexible? What about flexible work from home options? The options are nighttime or weekends.
I'm in.
Hold on, y'all skipped number 6.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, I didn't know if we wanted to flesh that one out, but
Oh.
you skipped that one.
That's my
say it.
bad. Okay.
Okay, so let's do 7, and then we'll go back to 6. I am down with this. Seeing as to how I am not Lori, I cannot make this decision. But listen,
Work from home on nights or weekends. I mean,
Yes,
yeah,
so
I
not
can.
during the
I can make
workday.
it flexible to
Do
where, like,
you-
you know how.
do any of you
Also-
feel like you're precluded from doing that now? I mean, you take all your equipment home with you every day.
True.
Listen, just because I do it doesn't mean that, like, sometimes if I could go home and just keep going until like 3 a.m., send all my emails, and then nap for like a good 8 hours.
Well, no, it's
I'd be
saying
down.
you come home, you like come here, work, and then you can work from home. Like that's your work from home. Like
That's your
Wait.
benefit.
that's the flexible part.
You work here?
Yeah, you still have your like 8 hours here, and then you can go home and work from home.
I already
Yeah.
do that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm on board. Approved.
I already
Now
do
go back
that.
to number 6. Please go back
Okay,
to
But
number
y'all
6.
missed an opportunity.
Number 6, 3 days for the death of your spouse. 3 days off for the death of your spouse.
Paid or unpaid?
That's the thing.
And,
Is it paid or unpaid?
Like, wait a minute. But what if it's like a Friday and then the following Monday, Tuesday?
That's what I was about to
Then
ask.
you're be given. That's 5 days.
I'm gonna need more than 5 days to like.
I
get
was
over
gonna
it.
say.
Learn how to
Sorry.
do all
Yeah.
this stuff.
I have a lot of things that I need to like deal with.
So you'd say it's a bad benefit.
I would say it's not enough.
I think that's
So it's bad.
I think that's pretty deplorable if that is an actual benefit.
yeah. Especially
You can have
it just
you
says
can have
3
9 days because that's maternity leave that I took with Adley.
That was self-imposed. But,
And
like,
that's
again,
and
this
that was
doesn't say paid or
consecutive
unpaid.
days, not work days.
Doesn't say if it's paid or unpaid.
Well,
and
they didn't tell
Yeah,
us.
no,
So
that's
just what
paid
they
or
said.
unpaid.
yeah.
That's pretty shitty, frankly.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think you knew that. That's why you put that on there. What's next?
Okay. You're allowed your cameras off on Friday meetings. Woohoo.
A
No.
little tree.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
No.
Y'all don't pay attention as
Although
in morning meetings.
Cynthia, it would save us from the blank stares.
I mean, I don't
I
think we
try-
would notice a difference.
I try to
You're
give
right.
reaction.
Sam, you're not a blank stare.
I know.
Okay.
You're
I try
very.
to make up it.
It's
make
on
up
your
for
face
everybody else.
exactly what you're thinking.
Yeah.
That's true.
You're not in that category.
Okay, number
I-
9.
Go ahead.
Oh.
Yes.
Okay,
go
number
ahead.
9, mandatory dance party where you're forced to have a dance off.
I think
If somebody pulls something on the job, we're not responsible. Y'all aren't that
No
asshole.
workers' comp.
is that
No, you would-
horseplay? Because that's
would have to
forbidden in
strip
the
That's
handbook.
that's under horseplay. That's forbidden.
Well, if it's like a team event where it's a dance party.
As long as we have no
I-
liability.
Prior to Severance, I might have been more inclined, but now
I think that made me want it more.
dancing in the workplace is a little creepy.
Yeah.
Especially when there's only 5 of you doing it.
All right.
All right. Friday Bagel Club. This is where you sign up and you get bagels every Friday. And when it's your turn, you have to buy and pick up bagels for everyone in Bagel Club.
Okay.
Honestly.
I kind of like this.
yeah.
So let's say, just to illustrate if I'm understanding this, there are 13 employees of Burch Law. But
Yeah.
let's say it's only the 3 of you that are part of the bagel club. Nobody else
Mhm.
wants to participate. So you would only buy bagels for each other.
Yeah.
Yes. And if
Bagel
you
club.
want
I just
in,
like the term bagel club.
Right? The
Yeah.
person who put this also added when it was finally their turn to do it, there was like 50 people who signed up. So
We'll see.
yeah.
We don't have 50
I mean,
people.
thankfully we don't
Is
have that. But that's a lot of
it's
bagels.
not as catchy, but is there any way to make it breakfast taco club? Because I am down for breakfast tacos.
yeah. Listen, I would make them scratch on my day.
I'd bring in kolache.
See, let's have a breakfast
Well,
taco.
It could just be breakfast club.
Yeah.
Breakfast club.
You got
Ooh.
really
And
excited.
you
your face-
choose. You choose the type of breakfast. Sam, also for the events committee to discuss.
Okay.
Do we want to have a
Yes.
breakfast
Write
club?
that down.
But not
You
on
know-
Fridays. It's going to be
Sure.
Thursdays.
Yeah, we're
Yeah.
lucky that Luke doesn't work here because it'd just be protein shakes. Be sad.
That's fine. I could, if it's my turn and I forget, I have enough protein drinks in the refrigerator to supply to all of you.
Okay, second to last one. If you're in the top 10%, you get to park in the specific parking lot. But if you're just a normal worker, you have to risk your life crossing 4 lanes of traffic with no lights.
First of all, what was the crying?
what was
like
that?
the baby crying?
It was a motorcycle.
Yeah, a very
But
high pitch.
if you're in the top 10%,
I don't understand. The top 10%
Like I'm
of
guessing
what?
they like earn like commission and stuff. Like whoever's like the top 10% of
So
like,
Lauren.
sales.
Yeah.
Doesn't get commission. And don't say that.
She doesn't.
She doesn't.
does not get
And we
commission.
can't do that.
No, but
For the
like
top 10%, you get to park in this parking lot. But if you're just a normal worker, why aren't top 10% people normal workers? See, this is what I've been trying to get through to you guys.
what
You need
if
to
like
strive
you
for excellence. You need to strive
so
for
Lori,
10%
the top
needs
10
to be
are
normal.
those who try harder. The 10% are the ones who try harder. So if you're here on time.
All right, we're going to skip. What's the next one?
Okay. Last one. You get company branded tennis shoes for Christmas, but they're against dress code at work, so you can never wear them to work. For example, in this one, she said, "When am I going to wear tennis shoes that are company colors and have the logo of a hospital on them?"
Oh my,
So-
that's hilarious.
Wait, I feel like there are nurses who wear tennis shoes.
Maybe she's like
Not
admin
at this
stuff.
one.
Maybe she's admin.
Yeah, or maybe it's like specific
So,
tennis
in
shoes
other
to
words,
wear.
this is like Sarah's soft launch of Burch Law branded tennis shoes.
Yeah, I would wear
Um,
Burch Law branded tennis shoes.
I would wear
Or
the
You
sweatpants.
know that,
with our
you
socks.
know though, yes, I know.
Oh,
You know those tennis shoes I have, I custom designed those for Birch Law colors.
Oh, really?
Yes.
The red ones?
Yes,
Yeah.
but there's not
Yeah.
like a Peggy isn't on them. I want ones with Peggy. I want to be able to walk
Okay.
in shoes, socks, sweatpants, and a jacket, and a baseball cap. Sarah wants a
Mhm.
bucket hat, but I want a baseball hat.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Can it be like a dad cap though, not like the wide brimmed ones?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Like the ones I usually wear, not the like the really wide brimmed.
I know
Sure.
what you're
Yeah.
talking about. As
Yeah.
someone who has many ball caps, I
Dad
know
hats.
exactly what you're talking about. I have a variety.
I
I
have
have
several
goth
ball
dad
caps.
hats.
Nice.
Right, Sarah?
That was our
Yeah.
list.
Yeah.
That is a great list. I feel like we need to have a
Yeah.
part 2 of this because that's
Yeah.
We could find
that
more.
was pretty
for
fun.
Sure.
Did you find other ones? Like, was there a discard list?
Oh
No, we
yeah.
only
Um,
discarded one, and it was something about pets. We had 2 of them, so I
It was paternity leave.
No.
What about pet bereavement? I feel that's more valid than
Ooh.
sometimes, I feel
Yeah.
that's really valid.
That's so fascinating. Maybe we need to look up more and then share it with the team to see how that makes them feel about their place of employment. I don't know. But
The pet
anyway,
side?
good job, everybody. I think this gives people a lot to chew on when it comes to workplace benefits. Thank you and good night.
Thanks for listening. And just to cover all our bases about what you just heard, I'm sorry and you're welcome. Make sure you subscribe so you never miss an episode. And tell your friends about us. We do webinars and live events. The best way to stay up to date is to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. Links are in the show notes. If there's a topic you'd like us to cover, maybe you have a question you'd like us to answer, or maybe you just want to say hi, hit the link in the show notes or go to burch-law.com/podcast and fill out the contact form.
Much better.
Yeah, I thought that had a lot of energy.